Okay, so welcome to the second Excel tutorial. In this lesson, we are going to be learning how to do scatter graphs with Excel. These are basically going to be useful for any geography coursework, maybe Year 9 or GCSE level. You're going to use this in science. You can use this in any business, anything all the way through to the end of your end of your time at school. It's got so many different applications. So here we go. We've opened Excel. So just start with a blank workbook. What we're going to be doing is using a maths sort of year 7 or a year 8 level maths question, just to kind of demonstrate the different things and different features that Excel has, and how you can nicely format your work, and you can get a better looking, and when you know how to do this, it will be quicker to do it like this than actually manually. So what I've done there is just we should save the file straight away. I've just called it Excel lesson 2, and we're ready to start. So the question we're going to be using is this one here. It's got the height of tomato plants and how many leaves are on them, and it's got a table of results here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use each sheet. We're going to just label these up, question 1, question 2, so we can start each of the sheets, each of the questions on a separate sheet. This way, when you print it out, when you come to print it out, you're going to get one page for each question, and everything will look much nicer here. So I'm just doing question 1 on the sheet as an example. And the first thing we need to do is just to set our columns out, the height in centimeters and the number of leaves, and just input the data into Excel. You can format these like you learnt in the first tutorial, bold, underline, however you want to do it, choose whichever font, make it clear. So here we go. Even though these are in 2 rows, I tend to always format the data into 2 columns. It just, for me, this is just the best way of doing it. So we've got the height of 6 and the number of leaves of 1, and we've got 28 and 16. So we'll just speed this up a little bit, just doing the next few. Okay. So now this is done, we'll be ready to actually show you how to do the scatter graph. Okay, so to do the scatter graph, the first thing you need to do is to highlight all the data. Don't highlight the headings, just the numbers. Then what we do is we go into Insert, and we have a selection of charts. This is the line chart. We don't want to use that. We are doing the scatter graphs. So we'll just use this scatter graph here, and you can see it appear straight away on your sheet. We're going to edit the chart title. We're going to need to obviously put our axes on there, and we're also going to then progress through the couple of questions which are on the sheet. So I'm just going to call it question 1. Okay, so now we've called this question 1, we can see that the left-hand axis goes from 0 to 18, and the horizontal axis goes from 0 to 30. So you can see that the horizontal axis is the height, because that goes up to 28. So double check which one's which by having a look at the points, having a look at the values, but you'll find that the horizontal axis is usually the first lot of points, and the y-axis, the vertical axis, is the second lot. Okay, so you need to go into Add Chart Element, Axis Titles, and this will allow you to edit the actual labels for this. So this, as we said, was the height in centimeters, and going back up to Add Chart Element, we can do the vertical one and label this number of leaves. Okay, so now we've labelled both of these, we're ready to have a look at the questions. Just reformat these so they're slightly larger. Okay. So let's look at the questions. The first question, part B, is to comment on the correlation. So as you should know, this is positive correlation. And looking at how well the points line up, we can say this is strong. This is strong correlation, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. The next thing is if a plant has 10 leaves, so make sure we know this is 10 leaves, therefore we need to read off the left-hand axis. We can't read off any axis at the moment until we've got a trend line. So you right-click on the points, add trend line, and then we need linear selected. You can edit how that trend line looks by going into various options. So you can see that we can go into solid line or some other kind of line here, change the color to black. But either way, we've got a line, you can reformat how it looks. We can now read off the 10 leaves by going to the vertical axis and then read across. The problem with this is we haven't got many values actually on this side. So if I go right click on this and go format the axis, we can go to units and we can say that we want something every 1 unit rather than every 2 units. You'll see that change on the vertical axis. Doing this exactly the same way for the horizontal axis, right clicking format axis. We don't want it every 5 units, we want this every 1 unit is probably going to be the best one, so that way we'll be able to read off perfectly. This also changes the grid lines and it's going to help you to read things off. So back to this, 10 leaves. So reading across from the leaves axes all the way across, then all the way down, we get fairly close to 20. The closest value we get to 20, so that is going to be our answer for part C. 20 centimeters, always use units. For D, if a plant was 12 centimeters tall, so that's the key information, 12 centimeters. So we just go over to our thing here, 12 from the centimeters across, comes between 4 and 5, but it's slightly close to 4. So we'll put down 4. There's always going to be some kind of leeway with these. E was one that doesn't really fit the trend. This is the point that's furthest away from this trend line and furthest away from the other points. Hovering over, you can see 22 and 4. That is 22 centimeters and only 4 leaves. So, to denote it like that. Okay, so we've done the question and we've got all the key bits. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put this into a format and a layout where it will print nicely on one page. Now using Control P, we'll do this. I've changed it to a landscape format because clearly, what I've got on the page here suits landscape a little bit better. I'm just shifting it in so it's going to fit on one page, and you can see down at the bottom there, I've now got it to one page. Now the table, at the moment, it'd be a bit nicer if it was all within grid lines. So use the formatting techniques we learned in lesson number 1. And this is what you want to be printing for each of the questions, something that looks like this. You want to be printing that for each of the questions 2 onwards, which you're going to be doing. Okay, as another extension, we've learned about just weak and strong correlation. Now, it is a little bit more complicated than that. I've just right-clicked on the line and put Add Trend Line. Well, we did that previously. There is an option under that, which is to add the R² value. You saw that just a moment ago. And this is what appears. Now, this number goes between 0, which stands for no correlation, up to 1, which is a perfect correlation. All the points line up along the line. In this case, we've got 0.799, or I'm going to round this to 0.8, and I'm going to write that in. So it's fairly strong correlation. I'm just going to add that to my part B, and this question will be done. So anyway, thank you for listening to Excel, the tutorial number 2, and we've got a lot more things to do in the third tutorial connected with formulas. So thank you, and wait for the next video.